A long time ago, when I first made my medieval house, I never went through the full process of how to actually build something like this. So I did that today, and I want to walk you through it because it's fairly simple when you get things all put together. And yeah, let's go over it. Now you can feel free to copy this design exactly into your world, but hopefully you'll learn a thing or two. Just about how to compose and chisel something like this, so you can make it in your own shapes and styles. But yes, step one, you're gonna want to lay out the floor plan of your house using cobblestone. I chose Firelight cobblestone because I actually really love this texture. I think it looks great. And yeah, so you just want to block it out whatever shape you want. I went for a simple L shape. That's what I tend to do. Important things to look for are on every face of the wall. You want it to be an odd number. So in this case, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. This is a 9 by 9 section with a 5 by 5 section just sticking off of it. For whatever shape you want, you can really just extend and build whatever the hell you want in whatever shape you want, as long as you stick to that code. It'll all fit together in the end. I did add this little farm area off to the back just because I thought that might be a nice little accent, just to shake things up a little instead of just the house. For these walls and that kind of thing, you kind of just gotta eyeball it. I'll hold the camera still here so you can take a look. But how I make these is I just like trace a line and then I fill it in, break off the chunky bits, so it's all just like nice and straight, nice and clean. And I just did a circle around the back of the house. This little section here is the chimney. All it is a single row of blocks there, and then you go up 5 blocks. And then you break out this little hole on the inside, and that's where your fireplace is going to go. So yeah, that is the first step. Moving on. This is where things are foundational, very important. Getting this right will get the rest of it all in place. So really all you have to do is extend up with your block of choice. In this case, I used light brown wattle and daub, but I also love to use chalk if it's readily available. It's a lot whiter. Yeah, chalk rock is way wider, which looks a bit more like historical plaster. I think there might be a plaster block. I don't actually know. Okay, there is plaster. You just have to make it with funky shit. Chalk rock is a good substitute. You can just kind of make it out of straight rock if you're cheap. But yes, for the actual step, you just extend up by another 3 blocks. It's important that you make these 3 block high so that you have space to put a floor in with a little bit of extra room, just so you're not in a cramped goblin cave. Yeah, so all you do is you just extend up by 3, and then this is where things get a little bit tricky. For the outer face of these walls, every 2 blocks from where you started your plaster or your wattle and daub surface, you want to go out 1. So you count up 1, 2, and then you go out here. And in this case, with how this is organized, you only need to do that once at this what is this? The 5th block up is where you do that. And then for the roof, it's a little funky, but follows the same general principles as my other roofs. You just trace out a border that you want, and then you build it across. We'll get to that, but this is where you lay that out. So it makes it a lot easier. It's just 3 up by this 1 block angle, then 2, and then a little 1 at the top. And then it's kind of mirrored on this side with this little portion sticking out. I'll get more into that into the roof, but yes, that is that. And another thing to note when you're doing these, you do want to fill in the inside of this wall with more wattle and daub. If this wasn't here, you would just have like a too high with a weird like border line thing. You want to fill that in. Otherwise, it's going to look a little funky later on. So yes, that is how you make that for the, and actually in this step as well, we add the floors. So you can see it's just a 2-block high room with a 3rd block that has a slab, or there's actually just a chiseled block all across so that I didn't have to deal with slab rotation. Yes, but this is where your floors will be. This section right over here by the fireplace, this is where your stairs are gonna go. I think that's actually broken out later on, but yes, this is your floor. And then in here, you just wanna continue the floor into these little doorways here. And yeah, when you're putting in the walls, you add these little doorways. And then additionally, this house is a lot cheaper to light, theoretically speaking, where you're at in the tech progression when you unlock the chisel, which we'll get to later on. All it takes is 2 lanterns and 2 oil lamps. You place them here and here on both floors, and your entire house is fully lit. Pretty cheap, pretty simple. Get a good amount of floor space with it, and yeah. For the next step, this is where things get a little funky. The chiseling comes in. To do this, very simple. Take your steel chisel, or your whatever chisel, copper chisel. You select the 8x8 brush, and then you cut out, I'll just do it on this block to demonstrate, you just cut out the inside or the outer layer of the block all across the entire bottom floor. So around the corners, across the face, all you're doing is cutting out the 8x8 section of the bottom block. And then you go up, and again, we have the 2x2 extrusion rule. As I said earlier, the chiseling follows that same rule. So these blocks are all going to be whole blocks because we chiseled the bottom floor. And then the next floor, or the next segment of 2 blocks above that, we're going to chisel down with the 8x8 halfway. And then we'll leave the top portion. And this is actually a 4 kind of funky thing. Usually I just go 2 up until I get to a weird shape like this, and then I just leave the rest of that flat. But yes, that is the chiseling for that. I also punched out all these windows here. You can just kind of eyeball it. Take a look here. Just punched out all the holes for those. Pretty simple, pretty simple. And now we get to, this is actually kind of different to how I originally built these medieval houses. I used to put on the roof last. I would do all the beamwork first. But I actually found that when doing beamwork, it's way easier when you have the roof just already on there. Because then you don't get like hitboxes in the way, and you can also adapt the beams to whatever shape you're going for. It's a complete canvas to go off of there. So roofs, this is where things get a little tricky. And also, I didn't do it here. The chimney is also chiseled a little bit. I can show that real quick. This is just to, basically I chiseled out these blocks into this, and then I left these blocks, or I chiseled back this block in the 8x8. So I just took this shape, and I used the 8x8 brush to cut that out. We can kind of follow the edge to get a sense of what I did there. It's just this section, that, and that. But it gets a little weirder here when I did the roof. I'll just cover this real quick. I used the 4x4 chisel brush to cut out the sides of the chimney going up. And then I used the same brush to cut this little shape out here for the actual chimney. And I did that on the top of the roof as well, but I will get to that in a moment. So roofing. All you got to do for this, I've said it before, you just create the line of your roof across the edge of the blocks. You would build it on here, and then you just extend it out to the opposite side. And if you have matching sides, it's very easy. If you have kind of weird compound sides, you kind of gotta fuck with it. Like in this case, I have these little chiseled bits here that are actually a part of this wall, because the stair block kind of cuts off where that's chiseled out. So when you're actually looking at it from a distance, you can barely even tell it's there. But it's a very easy way to fill the gap and make things a little easier to follow. Yes, for the actual extrusions on the wall, I actually left these as the whole blocks. on the floor with the chiseling, just to keep that half out portion. And then I use the half blocks, these doodads, up here, as well as chiseling just a plank, an acacia plank or whatever block you choose, halfway, so that it extrudes just by that little slab amount, which looks marvelous in my opinion. For the top, for the roof, or for the tip, I should say, all it's 2 planks on top of each other, and then I used the 4x4 chisel brush, and I shaved off the corners, or the sides, so that it's kind of like a slab shape, but centered on the block, which makes that arc really smooth, really gradual, and very pleasant to look at. I think that's everything covered for the roof, so we'll go ahead and move on. This is beamwork, my favorite. I feel like in the new update, they actually made it like less buggy. I had like almost no trouble putting this on this time around. Maybe they've freed me from my eternal suffering. But yes, this is beamwork. So basically, what you're gonna want to do is put a border around the whole face. So put it around all that. And then you do vertical beams wherever there's an opening or like a window. So you do a beam on either side of this, you connect that, and then in this case, because the chimney was there, I wanted to keep this space, so I did a vertical beam off to those sides. Generally, you kind of just got to eyeball it, but the order of operations is you put it around the whole thing, and then based on the features on there, you put the beams around them. So I do the windows first, where I go down, down, and across, and then that leaves me with most of the beamwork for this section done. But there's a big empty space in the middle, so I just put a beam right down the center. Super simple. For these little like cross patches that just kind of texture it a little, make it look nice, all you do is you just section off a portion, or in a portion that's already sectioned off, you just throw a diagonal beam there. Super simple. And the rule of thumb for beamwork to make it come out really nice like this is that you want all your beams to follow the same path. Theoretically, you could alternate, and that might look nice. I don't know how that's done in actual half timbering, but as far as I know, you follow the same path. So wherever there's a vertical beam, you have a diagonal beam going down, and all the vertical beams line up along the face of the wall. Yeah, and you just continue that, do that to all sides, and then on the bottom, you do these little supports here as well, following that pattern, and it's pretty straightforward. It might look a little daunting at first, but once you follow that order of operations and just kind of eyeball it, it'll all fall into place. It's fairly simple, and I believe that is the majority of the work done. So for the last step, this is where all the details come in. You just throw in some glass panes. In this case, I also put these little shelf things here under every window. It's a little more obvious when the sun's on it. There's kind of a weird angle, but yes, you put those underneath all the panes. You can carve out these little doorway or little overhang door frame kind of things for the doors. For most of this, it's just kind of playing ball, fucking with it till it looks right. But the rule of thumb that I did for this is I stuck to the 8x8 and 4x4 brushes, and I carved out a rather simple shape here. And because I used the whole blocks for this, I didn't have to add any material to make this shape. That is the great advantage of chiseling the bottom layer like this. And then for the windows, I just popped in the panes, and you'll notice this wattle and daub here because we filled in the wall in this step when we came around and we put these in here. It makes it so the windows are closed off, so there's like a space above that, and it looks nice and clean. Yeah, so it's just windows, doors, a little bit of chiseling, kind of light work. You could put chiseled window sills on these windows as well, maybe throw some kind of hanging garden with, I don't know, some kind of vegetation and foliage. This step is kind of just up to your imagination, but the simple principle is just windows, doors, and chiseling things out a little bit so it's not so flat. There's also the staircase here by the fireplace. This was kind of a pain in the ass to figure out how to make it so you can actually like run up, but the general rule of thumb is a slightly chiseled stair here at the bottom, then whole plank blocks, a slab on top, and you can run right up that with a little bit of tripping. And then I threw in these fences here just to make it a little nicer to look at. Yes, this room here I thought could be used as like a nice cellar maybe, just because it's a small enclosed space. I think this would qualify. I don't think cellars have to be underground. So maybe you could have your kitchen out here and all that. I didn't do interior decoration for this because generally I like to leave it up to whoever's using this in survival. Yes, and as you can see, the upper floor is relatively smooth, relatively clean. I didn't put a bunch of beams and stuff on the inside because typically I just kind of hang up a bunch of shit and do a bunch of interior stuff, so the beams kind of make that a pain in the ass. But you could do whatever you want with the inside of this. I just didn't for the sake of this tutorial. But yeah, that should be it. It's relatively straightforward. Those are all the steps to the really simple. It's what, like 6 steps to put something like this together. Really simple when you break it down. And then out here, this is kind of a cool feature. This is high fert soil plots, 3x3. That's what I did for this garden section. And then there's this little, like, I think this is two pixels thick platform covering the water. So you can just walk across it and everything will stay fully watered. This is actually woad, not like rye or a plant or anything, because I couldn't fucking figure out how to do that in creative to make it grow fast. They kept blasting. Looks quite beautiful with the wind blowing. I can imagine with a bunch of crops, that kind of thing. And then also for this little wall here, super simple. You just take the stone walls here and you just go around the outside in the corners. I guess theoretically animals could get into this. You may have to revise this design or like dig a little trench on the outside to keep animals from getting in. I think that's a thing. I don't actually, I haven't really farmed in Vintage Story before, so this is up to your discretion, should you wish to adapt it to whatever. But the foundation is there and the principle is there. So yeah, there you have it. That is the full guide on how to create a medieval house like this. The design that I've been milking dry in every fucking game. This is how you make it. Very simple. Put together in like 5 or 6 simple steps. So I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time.